Greetings, humans. Welcome to the multiverse. It's Thursday, September 12th. Normally, it shows our faces at the bottom when it goes into the logo animation, but that time it didn't. I wonder. Either way, we're here in the multiverse with third-time guest, Mr. Brian Cory Dobbs, and our good friend of the show. How's it going today, man?
Dude, you guys have a killer opening. I've got these big speakers here, of course, and I've got this whole immersive experience.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
I'm like, oh god, sounds incredible.
So that guy, thank you very much. And that guy, I don't know his name off the top of my head, but Mike, he's a keyboard player, and the guy's just like a keyboard like wizard. And someday he might ask us for money, but for now he hasn't bothered us. And he's like some kind of keyboard savant, I guess. And there's like he's got about 3 albums where he's just just going to town.
So, his name is Mike.
No, our Mike is the one who found him. I have his. It's probably in the description, Brittany, if you want to find it. But yeah, thank you very much. Killer opening, right?
Yeah, great music. Whoever came up with that. So.
Yeah, I think it's going to be our thing, and then if the guy lets us without charging us too much money when we're rich, we'll keep it going. But I personally love it. We either play that or Marching to Mars by Sammy Hagar, which I should have played today. We played the last 2 times you were on.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, lots of stuff going on in the world right now that we're not going to talk about. We're going to take a little sidetrack from that and maybe move on to a different planet. There's Michael Ronald. There's Mike from Mike.
I know Ronald Jenkins. I mean, not personally, but I have one of his albums, and that's so funny. I was like, this kind of sounds like that one keyboardist guy that I.
Yeah.
Ronald Jenkins. Oh man, that's awesome. Yeah, he's one of these weird savants, isn't he? But he's good. He's good.
Disorganized Fun. That's the name of the album. Yeah. It pumps me up every time. That's why I play it to start the show.
I got one of his albums. Anyway, sorry to get off track there.
You're good. We're there's no track. So we're gonna get a little bit off Earth today because the news on Earth is I wanted to start just today's episode. Brian's been on twice already. He came on, did an interview for our Cosmic Monday series. Then we met Brian at Cosmic Summit 2025, and then he came on for our after action review of the Cosmic Summit. But for those of you who don't know Brian, would you please take a couple minutes to tell us who you are and what you're into and that kind of thing?
Yeah, sure. So Dave, Brittany, and Mike, it was a pleasure meeting you guys at the Cosmic Summit as hosted by George Howard. He's such a great guy.
The best.
Whole community together, and he's really pushing for the furtherance of our understanding about our ancient past. And the Cosmic Summit is such a wonderful event. It brings so many high quality people together, and that opportunity to get to have FaceTime with people is quite valuable. I have just a little bit of crossover into this world of pyramids and stuff, man, because my area, as you guys know, but for those of you who are new to me and my work, I'm a documentary filmmaker. And just a few weeks ago, I was finally able to launch my Mars disclosure documentary titled Blue Planet Red, which covers everything about Mars that most people haven't heard of.
Mm-hmm.
Most people know it's red and that it's the 4th planet and that Elon Musk wants to go there, and that's cool, man.
Mm-hmm.
But that's about where it ends. So, there's really decades of, shall we say, baggage relating to Mars and the study of anything other than geology.
Mm-hmm.
And that's sort of where the film goes. It goes into all of the things that NASA has discovered about the planet that they just simply haven't talked about. They haven't addressed, they haven't commented on.
Mm-hmm.
They do a real good job. I mean, they're such a well operated organization.
Mm-hmm.
I think their heart is in the right place. I just don't think they really want to be in the business of disclosure, even though they are making quite a number of discoveries on the red planet that do help inform the overall topic of disclosure, of which is quite popular these days, but under another realm, which is the UFO topic, which is getting a lot of attention these days. There's a hearing this week, I think it was, and we had that nice video that you guys probably saw with the UFO getting hit by a missile. Did you guys see that?
Yes, I did. Yes. My brother sent me that. Yeah, that was wild.
Wild stuff, man. Sure is. So we're just starting to get a little bit more evidence with the UFO disclosure topic. There's been plenty of reporting, plenty of testimony, not a whole lot in the way of solid evidence. So, under this whole topic of disclosure, I, along with others in the Mars community, make the argument that there's a lot more evidence related to extraterrestrial life, past and present, simple and intelligent, when we look at the history of Mars. And for those of you who haven't heard about any of this, believe me, I understand how nuts that sounds because, well, you think if NASA discovered something, surely they would have told us about it. And as much as I felt that way myself, after looking at all of the research that's been published and all of the photos that have been published, all essentially originating from data collected by NASA themselves, it really paints a different picture of the planet than most people are familiar with. So I'm trying to speak in generalities at this point because we might get into specific questions here, but
Sure.
I was able to look at the totality of evidence collected over the past 50 years regarding the interesting things we're finding on Mars, and I couldn't help but wonder why no one has made a film about this. And so a couple of years ago, I was just compelled, maybe 3 years ago at this point, I was just compelled to get in the game and do something about it, and I think that's one of the interesting things about this day and age is that it's easier to start communicating. That's what I am ultimately. I'm a storyteller, I'm a communicator, I'm not a researcher. The work that I do is based off of the research that other people do, and I think you guys can relate to that. It's we make these connections with the people doing the research because we want to help further the narrative that we feel like is not getting a fair shake.
Yeah. That's exactly what Mike and I did. That's why we started the show, to be fair. And you mentioned the word Mars disclosure, which I don't know that, like, before I heard it from you, I heard those two in the same sentence before, in that context of like, because when I hear Mars disclosure, Brian, I hear, there's stuff that is known by some and not known by many about Mars that's been purposely hidden. And then I also think of a crafted narrative, which is it's red, Elon wants to go there, yada yada. The things that like everyone, it's like almost like it was put into the zeitgeist on purpose so that we all have these 3-4 things that we go to about Mars, and then we don't have to think about it anymore, right? And so can you please tell us a little bit more about sort of the small coalition of people getting involved in this Mars disclosure community and what that's all about? Because it's an interesting choice of words, Mars disclosure.
Yes, and it's not something that I've used. I wasn't even using this last time I spoke to you, but
No.
I've started incorporating it more in my messaging recently because it is a more accurate reflection of the work that I involve myself with.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a Mars documentary.
Mm-hmm.
If you want a Mars documentary, go to National Geographic
Mm-hmm.
or the History Channel or the Science Channel. It's a Mars disclosure documentary, which is something
Mm-hmm.
a little bit more specific because it is talking, generally speaking, about all of the evidence collected thus far about life, past and present, on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, in order to talk about life, we first have to set it up and we have to talk about water. And most people don't know there's water on the planet right now. It's not a blue planet, but it used to be. And there is still ice essentially all over the planet these days. And there is just a wee bit of an atmosphere. So while I don't think NASA has this stellar reputation, we look at them as an institution that we can trust. And I don't see things in black and white. I don't want to just point my finger at NASA and just say, you guys aren't telling us stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They're not, but I do want to give them credit. They are engineering quite a number of state-of-the-art robotics that give us this opportunity to probe the universe in all these
Mm-hmm.
different ways, whether it be imaging, whether it be actually sending something to a different planet and measuring its atmosphere, its geology, and things of that nature. So they are certainly owed a lot of credit for helping the rest of our planet understand what it is that this solar system, this galaxy is really made
Yeah.
out.
What the hell is this?
Right. Okay. So without NASA, we wouldn't have all of this. So I do want to be clear. I do support NASA's efforts and the data collection. Their PR leaves much to be desired. One example that I'll start with is, well, if we rewind the clock, okay? Rewind the clock all the way back to the mid-70s, which is forever ago,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They actually had these monumental feats of engineering missions to Mars, known as the Viking mission. Was actually Viking 1 and Viking 2. And you guys remember this from last time. We sent 2 landers to Mars in 1976, and we sent 2 orbiters to Mars. So they've taken photographs orbiting around the planet, and we would actually land stuff on Mars in 1976, which is like, wow, that's crazy. That's forever ago, but we actually did it back then, and these things worked flawlessly. And ever since 1976, we really started getting good data. And it was then that we suspected, but we confirmed water on Mars, even snow on Mars. There are literally photographs of snowfall on Mars. And we were able to take atmospheric measurements. But when the first images of Mars were beamed back to NASA headquarters, the control room there, what they saw back then was, yes, this rocky desert landscape, but they saw blue sky. And this stunned everybody in the room. I interviewed Dr. Ron Levin, who was the son of Dr. Gil Levin, who worked on the Viking mission, and he was actually in the room at the time, and he said, yes, there was blue skies on all the monitors. And this went counter to our understanding about the red planet, because then it all of a sudden it made the red planet look a lot more like Earth. And unfortunately, the messaging ever since then, or rather NASA's portrayal of Mars, well, just before I say that, is that what happened next was there was a technician who went around to all the monitors and literally adjusted the color to get rid of the blue. Okay, we didn't want to have this narrative of blue sky on Mars. So somebody actually went around, adjusting these monitors, these old analog monitors, to get rid of the blue out of the sky. Now, Dr. Ron Levin, who's currently an engineering fellow at Raytheon, whose dad worked on the Viking mission, he was there in the control room. He actually went back to all these monitors and turned them back so we could see this blue sky, this accurate color. Throughout the years, when releasing rover photographs of Mars, NASA would actually tint all of the color towards red, removing any traces of a blue or purplish sky. So in some sense, they have been, I hate to use this word, but it's the first word that comes to mind, deceiving the public as it relates to what the true color of the Mars sky looks like. So the question is why? Why would they do something like this?
Yeah, that's the thought that comes to my head. Why would they do something like this? But also, why would I don't know. I just don't understand. Like it seems like, because the words you chose to use were they didn't want to they didn't want to have this narrative of a blue sky on Mars, and I'm going, why?
Right.
So they purposely wanted to control the narrative right then in 1976.
Yes.
For whatever reason.
Yes, and in recent years, NASA has owned up to this and have started releasing more color accurate photos of the Mars rover images. So they got the memo, the public figured this out, and now they're releasing more color accurate photos.
Sure.
And that's really just where the story starts. When we're talking about disclosure, we have to talk about these more benign examples first, okay? The other controversy was related to the life detection equipment that they equipped these Viking landers with. There was a series of 3 different tests aboard each one of these landers that landed on opposite sides of the planet. And long story short, each one of these tests produced a result that was more or less what you would consider to be a positive result, indicating that there was active microbial activity on the surface of the planet. Now, the confusion is there was this other test that was testing for the organic material in the soil, which came back negative. So NASA was perplexed by this. How can you have active microbial activity in the soil but have no organic material in the soil? So the narrative since that point forward has been the tests were inconclusive, but now they're really just saying there is absolutely no evidence for microbial life on Mars. The problem is this organics test was not sensitive enough to actually find the organics it was looking for. They knew this because they tested it down in Antarctica before they flew it to Mars, and guess what? It didn't find any organics in the soil of Antarctica either. This funky test known as the gas chromatograph mass spectrometer. It 70s technology just wasn't there yet. And we know for a fact there are organics in the Mars soil now because the Curiosity rover, everybody knows the rovers that we send, the Curiosity rover, which is still operating today, did find these organics that they weren't able to find in the 70s. So they were there in the 70s. They just couldn't find them with the equipment. So had they been able to find these organics in the 70s, what would have been the narrative since then? They wouldn't have been confused by their results. So they might have said, yeah, you know what? We found life. So when they say now there is absolutely no evidence, that's factually incorrect. There is evidence. And let's be clear here. Let's distinguish the word evidence from proof. If you looked at, I use these in the strict legal definition. The word evidence means suggestive of.
Suggestive of.
The word proof means conclusive of. So people use these words interchangeably, but if you're in a court of law, they are not the same word. Okay, so to say there's no evidence is not correct. Now, I'm not saying proof. I don't use that word proof. Generally speaking, on a rare occasion, I might when there is proof. So Okay, 1976, we find evidence for microbial activity. I'm skipping over a lot of the details here. Since 76, we actually have NASA has collected more evidence for microbial life on the surface of Mars. We have photographic evidence of lichens, of something called rock varnish, which is basically a black coating on a surface of a rock that only microbes make. It's also called desert varnish. The Curiosity rover that I just mentioned, when it was measuring the organics in the soil, it picked up something funky called an organic substance called dimethyl sulfide. Dimethyl sulfide, as NASA has on their website today, we only know one way of making that, and that is through microbial processes or somebody cooking something up in a lab. It doesn't happen abiotically. Anyway, I don't want to lose sight of your original question. So we have examples, Dave, throughout the years, and that's just where the story starts. We're starting with the easy stuff about microbial life, about water, and these sorts of things, about the tinting of the red color. And that is just where the story starts, with what information NASA has and what they're choosing to message on. And so what I have gotten myself working on now is I'm in touch with what I call the Mars community here. Maybe you'll say there's the UFO community. Well, there's a Mars community. It's small. It's the redheaded stepchild of the disclosure topic, but there are some folks out there working on Mars specifically. And each one is working on a different slice of it. Some people are working on the microbes. Some people are working on fossils, believe it or not. And we have photographic evidence of microbial activity. This is that rock varnish, that covering stuff, lichens and things. We have photographic evidence of fossils, which we present in the film. These are photographs all coming from NASA. So, and then we can go on into the deeper stuff about the signs of intelligent life that were on the planet in ancient times. But each researcher out there is working on a different slice of it. So my focus now is on trying to unify this story and to try to unify the community, because right now it's fractured. You got people in silos working things, and I'm trying to now build a coalition of a unified front of Mars disclosure, because people have been working fractioned for so long, and I think it's about time that we start bringing them together and present to the public a unified front to know that there is a community out there working on this stuff. And so that's my next goal related to, my storytelling and my messaging on Mars. I'm sorry that was long, but
no, that's good. That's perfect.
Context.
I appreciate the context, and everyone else I'm sure does too. Like I'm more familiar with the insides of this because you introduced us to Gene, from South Africa, and I didn't realize that there was like people working in silos on this type of thing. And so I really appreciate your effort to unify the mission and the messaging. That seems like very important to you.
Yes. And there's a gentleman, his name is Jean Ward, you just mentioned, who is in South Africa. Don't worry, everyone says Gene at first, and he's like, oh, it's okay.
I already did that, though. I already made that mistake.
No, yeah, it's fine. I did too. And I've been helping him trying to improve his messaging and his public relations, because he does outstanding work. He's a graphic designer by trade, and he's got his own YouTube channel. And what he does is he goes and looks at all the NASA photos and finds anomalies in orbiter photographs, these things that are in orbit around Mars. And he's got specialized software that allows him to download the ultra high resolution images that NASA takes. We're talking hundreds of megabytes for one image. Okay, that is it's a very particular advanced type of JPEG file that you need a special viewer just to look at it. But it lets you zoom way in on these little tiny, on all the little boulders and rocks and everything. So, and he just scours these images every night and just looks and looks and looks, and he finds all sorts of interesting things. So I've helped him rebrand his channel and his work, and what we've come up with. And I'm sure he would love to show you more and love to talk to you about this more. But um, we've now titled his channel Megalithic Mars.
I love it.
We spent a few weeks workshopping this, getting graphics ready, and I don't know if you've seen any of his recent videos, but we've got we've got a whole. I hired my musician friend Vicult to do some intro music for his channel. We've got credits in there. He's got a whole synthwave thing going on, this retro look. It's really beautiful stuff.
Is
And
it so? Is it still under? I'm looking at it right now. Is it still under Jean Ward, or is it
yeah,
totally?
his YouTube is the same, but his website, and I guess
Okay.
like it's Brian Dobbs, Blue Planet Red. It's John Ward, Megalithic Mars, right? So we were trying to workshop a title for him, and I said, well, Jean, you're really finding a lot of megalithic structures or things that appear to be megalithic structures on Mars that have both geometry and symmetry to them. And these were the top two criteria that, okay, so let's get into this. Everybody knows Carl Sagan, right? And when you start hearing this phrase, pyramids on Mars, you might think, bullshit. That sounds crazy, man. What are you talking about? And everyone loves to quote Carl Sagan. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. It's a very nice quote.
It is.
Okay, and I love Carl Sagan. I love Cosmos. Nothing against him. But my response is I'm gonna quote Carl Sagan right back at you. Okay, from the Cosmos series. Have you guys watched the original Cosmos with Carl Sagan?
Yeah, I've watched that one a million times, and then the new one I didn't like as much. But yeah, I've watched the Carl Sagan one a million times.
Well, he's got a book too, and in it, he has this other nice line. Intelligent life first reveals itself through the geometric forms of the geometric forms of its construction, geometric and symmetrical forms of its construction, something to that effect. Okay, meaning if you're orbiting a planet and you start going down and trying to see what's on the planet, the first thing you're going to see are cities and lines and buildings and stuff, right? Anything that has lines and symmetry. Nature doesn't like straight lines. So Jean Ward has focused his work on finding these geometric and symmetrical things that sometimes have Earth analogs. Anyway, so I'm working with him. There's another researcher I'm working with who I'll introduce you to at some point, which we're sort of getting his channel rebranded as well. His name is George Haas. I've interviewed both of these individuals for my YouTube channel. You can go and check it out. But in both interviews, we're looking at photographs of these structures that appear to be pyramids, and we do an analysis of them on their geometry and symmetry. And we, on one occasion, we actually give an Earth analog, the Teotihuacan in Mexico. So there is this Mars community that is doing stellar work. Now, this is just on orbital photographs. Okay, there's a whole other group of people who are looking at rover photographs. Okay, and what appear to be machine-like artifacts in a debris field sort of stuff that we're finding. Okay, in the film, we present a lot of these photographs. I know we're running short on time today, so maybe if we want to, we can do a little show and tell. But the whole point of the film was to pull all of this information together and present it for the viewer to catch up on the last 50 years of discoveries by NASA. And since the film came out, I've learned a whole lot since then. So the work continued on my YouTube channel.
Yes, it sounds like an evolution, right? You made the film because you saw sort of a hole that needed to get plugged, and then as this has evolved for you, you're now kind of focusing on the communities like, front and I really, I said this already, but I really love the concept of Mars disclosure, because it well, if we should know, like we should know like what they know about Mars, right? I feel like it's my opinion that when you mentioned NASA as this upstanding what do you want to call it, institution, and they have been for most of my life. I've viewed NASA as one of these institutions that we all used to trust, right? And erosion of trust in institutions in general is at like an all-time low right now. And NASA could do some serious public, what do you want to call it, PR repair. Not that they have like a terrible image or anything, but they could do PR repair by just being super honest about all this stuff,
Well, should we talk about the press conference?
Yeah, I want to get into that. We're talking about the recent press conference about the discovery of this rock that shows biosignatures on Mars that happened. And I pulled it up just so we can get. It's in Sapphire Canyon, a Martian sample collected by the Perseverance rover last year, and it's supposed evidence of ancient life on the red planet. And I'm just learning about this over the last day and a half, really. So, did you watch the press conference, Brian? And we're talking about PR for Mars. How did they do?
Yeah. Well, at this point, knowing what I know, I can't help, Dave, but be just a tiny bit cynical at times when NASA has some press event and they want to talk about some discovery that they have. And it's just not quite as tantalizing as the other things that I've learned about Mars.
Yes.
So, to be fair, they're trying. But what they essentially found last year, and we're more or less coming out this week to rehash, was their discovery of some spotted looking rock. Okay, it doesn't really sound that sexy, but
I'm gonna pull it up so we can see it, but continue.
Yeah, leopard or spotted or something like that. And it doesn't look that interesting, but the idea is that these spots that you see are not life itself, are not fossilized life, but are spots that are produced by life. Okay. And what they did was they made this discovery last year, and they put it out to the scientific community to what they call pressure test this hypothesis. And the scientific community came back and said, yes, you know what? We're confident these spots were made by life millions of years ago, but we are not 100% certain. So this press conference this week was basically NASA talking about how they possibly discovered signs of an ancient biosignature, but couldn't rule out the possibility of a non-biological explanation. So again, we have this, we think so, but we're not sure kind of moment. And, after what I just told you 10 minutes ago about all the other evidence, the Viking life test results, and you might think, well, if there was any question, why don't we just send another life detection experiment to Mars to figure this out one way or another? And the public has this understanding that NASA is constantly looking for life on Mars. But the only time we actually sent a life detection experiment to Mars was in 1976. They have not sent anything that directly observes any biological experiment to Mars since 1976. That was 50 years ago. They've sent plenty of geological and atmospheric tests, but no more biological tests since 1976. The question is why? Why?
Yeah.
So this story that came out this week, my friend Barry DiGregorio, who's an astrobiologist, and he wrote the biography for Dr. Gillivan, who designed one of these life detection experiments. Barry sent me an email. He said, "This isn't news. It's desperation trying to show that they've done something important in order for the Mars exploration program to stay alive after the Mars sample return mission was canceled." There wasn't one question about Viking and not one question about China returning any samples to Earth by 2031. The conference seemed contrived at best and rather pitiful. So there are a few of us in the Mars community that are a little bit jaded these days, because when they come out with this, it is but a hill of evidence next to the mountain over there that they're saying, don't worry about, don't look at that. And this is just where the story starts with microbes.
That's frustrating to me, Brian, and I racked my brain about like the why of it. And as we're looking at this here, these are the spots, right, that you're talking about.
Right.
Yeah. And it seems like this, it feels like this sort of soft disclosure thing that they do with UFO UAP phenomenon, which is essentially, this is the explanation we get. We don't think that you can handle it, so we're going to slow drip this information. Do you think that's what they're doing, or do you think there's a different reason for, this? Because, for example, like, this is based on what, this is cool. I think this is awesome, this picture, by the way, and this study and everything, the perseverance, and this is great. But like, when you just you're there's so many more interesting things that don't get half the I don't know. What's the deal?
Yeah. Okay. So to address, you have a very good question, and I have another contact who's in Australia who I also interviewed. His name is Jeff Cruikshank. He's a former security analyst over in Australia, and he's actually been covering a lot of the UFO stuff, but he has a particular interest in Mars. And the interview that I did with him, we analyzed one of these machine-looking artifacts on Mars. But he had a comment on LinkedIn to me that was addressing this question that you're bringing up here, Dave. And he said this, which I thought was very diplomatic, that he said, "Hey, Brian, there are certain people in this world who cannot comprehend the fact that there is life outside our planet. The slow walk is being done for their benefit."
The slow walk is being done for their benefit.
So I think this is what, Brittany, you were saying earlier, that, hey, you know what? It's not sexy, but it does get the public talking about this stuff. And yes, I can consider that a win, because if the public starts talking about Mars, and they want to search about Mars, yeah, hopefully they might stumble upon the film. Hopefully they might stumble upon this podcast. And by the way, I want to thank you too for having an interest.
Yes, you're welcome.
Okay, because when you talk about Mars, when I talk about Mars, people lose interest quickly. And that is my overall goal, is to try to change the public's perception about Mars. And it is really, I want to, give you guys credit, because this Mars disclosure term that we're talking about here, what we're doing here right now, okay, this is where it starts, is through people like you just showing an interest in what they may not have been aware of, before. And so I really do want to thank you guys, because I am one member of a larger community, some of which who have been working on this for decades, who no one has ever heard about. And through the process of making this film and being a little bit more public, having a bit higher profile, and it's not that high, believe me, I'm just a guy with a computer and some free time to put things together. We work on things that interest us. But I think what I have to contribute to the overall efforts of Mars Disclosure is just elevating the messaging behind it, and making contacts like what you guys are doing to help further this, so that we can get this information out there, and other people can take a look for themselves. So I do want to thank you again for doing this.
You're welcome, man. I've been interested in space and the solar system and Mars since I cut, every kid, usually boy, sometimes a lot of girls too, go through this, it's like dinosaurs, space, and construction dump trucks and stuff. I never got the dump trucks, but I did get the dinosaurs and the space. And I mean, ever since I saw the movie Mission to Mars with Gary Sinise, and do you see this movie, Brian?
Yeah, a while ago, sure.
Yeah, it's one of my all-time fave movies, and it's they show the face on Mars before I ever even knew that, because the internet didn't exist back then, so I didn't even know there was like a face on Mars. And so, but so I've always been interested in this. One thing I will say is the 2 times we've had you on, and the 2 times the time we had Jean Ward on, people were really interested. People loved Jean. They were like, oh, people were subscribing and like, how come I haven't seen this before, and all kinds of stuff. So to me, it's a matter of like a carefully crafted, this is the zeitgeist image of Mars we want 90% of the people to have in their mind. And that's what's so cool about your documentary, is you really point that out. It's in staggering in a staggering way. And then I lost my train of thought, but either way, I feel like for me, it's just a matter of people don't know. They don't know like what, and it seems on purpose. And I hate to be a conspiracy guy. Like, I'm really not. Like, I try my best to not go in that route, but like, I'm not going to bring this up today, but like I urge everyone to, whatever we're seeing on the news this week and any week at all, and in relation to Mars, in relation to ancient lost civilization, things that come up on this channel, I always urge people to, like, if you're feeling like a certain way about it, like emotionally, that because of what you're seeing, the messaging you're getting, then that might be on purpose. The message, because the messaging is very important, and the messaging that we typically get for Mars is, it's nothing to see here, right? It's not that big of a deal. Don't worry about it. Here's the 3 things you need to know, and that's it. I wanted to shout out Habitat for Rockhounds, Mr. Jim Fry, for the super chat. You can now super chat us, guys, and that's because of the thousands of hours everyone's watched Mike and Dave's Multiverse. We hit the first level of monetization, and that allows us to, yeah, thanks, man. And that allows us to get super chats, and so you can support the channel that way. We've been talking about some of these anomalies, so if you want to start gearing those up while I do our book of the month, we'll do that.
Sure.
We do a book of the month every month here in Mike and Dave's Multiverse. Typically either books Mike and I have read and like, or authors we've had on the show and we've read their book and we want to endorse them. This month's book of the month is Deja Vu, Has Everything Already Been? In Search of a Previous Lost Civilization by Alexander Czeszkiewicz. He's a young Polish author. How old is he, Brittany? 20? 23? Something like that?
I don't know. He's very
21, 22, 23. And he is a brilliant thinker, brilliant speaker. This book did really well in Poland. He's translated it to English, and he's trying to get it out there. And it's essentially just ancient lost civilization theory. He blends Graham Hancock and Robert Schoch and Robert Bauval, all these different, and as well as like quantum physics and consciousness. He gets into all that kind of stuff in here, and it's very, very interesting. Brittany's going to throw a link to the book, and to support myself, Mike, Brittany, the Multiverse, and I call him Oleg, but Oleg Czeszkiewicz. Check out the link, and check out our book of the month. Let's just take a look at some of your faves or any recent ones. And because like when we're talking about Mars, like I've got I think it's behind me right now, actually. I've got like a documentary on Mars, like on my screen. Actually, it's yours. I was watching yours again this morning while I was getting ready. And let's just get some of it out there. The more it gets into the universe, people could see what's available to be seen. The more interested people will get.
Sure. Well, you know what? Maybe what we can do this time, which is different than what we did last time, is you guys know Robert Schoch, right?
Yeah, I love that guy. Yeah.
Okay.
He's
so
my favorite.
At the Cosmic Summit, he's one of the lone voices, I think, who was really pushing an alternative explanation for the Younger Dryas event.
CME, the CME, yep.
Okay. And this is not a very well-known phenomenon, and there are relatively few people actually studying this. But if we look back at the Ice Age, which your viewers might be familiar with, we had this Younger Dryas event, which we attribute to an impact, a comet impact or a meteor impact or something of that nature, which caused global cataclysm here on Earth. And Robert Schoch has a different perspective, a different field of research that suggests it was not only these ancient signs of cataclysm would not only be attributed to a meteor impact, but a plasma discharge from the sun, which sounds crazy until you dig into the research.
Mm-hmm.
And throughout my film Blue Planet Red, we do talk about this same phenomena as relates to Mars. And as it turns out, this phenomena presents itself in a few different ways. I guess for those people who aren't familiar, like if you look at the Northern Lights, okay, the Aurora Borealis, right? These nice colors. It's the sun's the solar wind interacting with the Earth's magnetic field, which creates these interesting things in the sky. Well, just imagine that on steroids, okay? And sometimes this actually can manifest itself in not just a nice color show in the sky, but more like an electrical discharge would. Like you might zap yourself on the door handle when you go and touch it, or lightning from the sky, even better example, okay? Electricity discharging from one voltage potential to another, or one charge to another. So, and when this happens, lightning itself, or a plasma discharge, lightning is plasma essentially, a plasma discharge either from a neighboring planetary body or the sun itself interacting with our magnetic field can produce geological destruction. Okay. It can cause cratering. It can cause these odd formations, what's called a Lichtenberg pattern, which essentially just looks like electricity that was burned into the ground. It can also cause, may I share screen here?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Is it this one? No. Is it this one? Yes. Electrical discharge can also cause cratering, and very specifically hexagonal cratering. And this is
hexagonal cratering.
Yes. Now this is on Mars, okay? This is a signature of an electrical discharge rather than a meteor impact. Meteor impacts produce circular depressions with a surrounding debris field. Like you see all the stuff that was blown out of it.
Is that a depression? Like that's a depression? It almost looks like a mountain.
It's going in. It's concave.
Okay, got it.
Okay. Now notice you don't see any surrounding debris field around this hexagonal crater.
Right, which you would do on the moon and Mars and stuff with
yeah,
craters.
You see all the stuff, the detritus as they call it. Okay, what happens during electrical discharge is that it sucks it all up in the air in the atmosphere and blows it all over much further away. It not just right around it. Okay, so Mars has these examples of these hexagonal craters all over the place. All right, now Mars is this ancient surface. It's sort of been preserved after the atmosphere was after the atmosphere vanished, okay, that's a whole different story. It put the planet into deep freeze. There's really no tectonic activity. So there's really very little erosional forces. So we get to see, just like our moon, it's just sort of preserved up there, and it's nothing's changing like it is down here on Earth. So any evidence of this kind of stuff happening here on Earth is we find much less, just due to geological activity, tectonic plate movement, and erosion and things of that nature, the atmospheric erosion. So Robert Schoch is in the film discussing this phenomena, this plasma discharge, and he thinks that the sun was responsible not just for this type of scarring on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see if I can get another one on here. Here's another interesting. See these things here? This is a crater chain. Okay.
Weird.
This is not 3 small meteors that impacted. This is an electrical discharge that just went like this, zzz, like this, just a little bit. Zzz, and
Yeah.
this is a short one. You will see crater chains that are 10 times as long as this. Is just what I had to pull up on short notice here. But you will see these things called crater chains, which is essentially just it is a signature of either a electrical or what you call plasma discharge. Essentially, imagine a gigantic lightning bolt zipping across the ground. It's not just striking one spot, it's moving. Okay. And here's another one here. These things are all over the place. You see long crater chains. Now, NASA and the rest of the scientific community want to say these are rivers, but there's no start or end to the river, and sometimes they crisscross over one another and take 90-degree turns just for no apparent reason. They don't look like rivers. Some people might say they're lava tubes that have fallen in on themselves, but that's not true either. And there's another channel on YouTube called the Thunderbolts channel that does a deep dive into this electrical universe field of study, where they talk about how electromagnetic forces have these devastating effects on terrestrial planets. And if we look at let's see here, Thales Marinaris, you guys know the big scar on Mars.
Yeah.
Goodness, where is that? Mars. Let me see where it is. I apologize.
No worries. I think you just did you skip it?
Oh,
there?
here we go. Okay, so this big scar here on Mars, it's the size of the United States. And it's such an odd shape.
Yeah.
Okay. And what's important to know is that in the lab, this same shape was reproduced. Where'd it go? Here we go.
Huh.
Okay. This, you see this bulbous center, bulbous center, and then it goes over and then up and then over and then down. And it goes over and then up and then over and then down. The electrical discharge phenomena is scalable. Robert Schoch will talk a lot about this. Think about it. The shock on the door handle, that's nothing more than a very small lightning bolt. Okay? So what we're talking about here is the signature of, imagine a planet-sized lightning bolt. Okay? You guys remember in science class, they would have these Van de Graaff generators, just a big silver ball, and you could see the sparks between them. They were showing you what electrical discharge looks like. Okay? You can see these experiments on YouTube. But just imagine if 2 planetary bodies of differing charges in an earlier, more unstable version of our solar system, which there is evidence to suggest that it wasn't always as stable as it is right now, or perhaps a large comet passing by, something of opposite charge of the planet itself, zipped by it, and there was an electrical discharge between the two. Okay. So what we see here on the left is somebody in the laboratory creating the same unusual shape with electrical discharge. And Robert Schoch presents in the film that that electrical, or what he says plasma discharge from the sun, blew off the atmosphere of Mars. And if you see a scar like this that creates a scar the size of the United States, that's a huge electrical discharge. And if you look at the rover photographs, what do you guys remember about any rover photograph that you see?
I don't know.
What is on a rover? What here's just a random rover photograph.
Rocks.
Okay? Rocks everywhere.
Yeah, that's what I would. That would seem too obvious. That was the answer I first thought of. But
that's it. That's it. But just imagine if electrical discharge, is excavating so much material and blowing it where?
Up.
Everywhere.
Out. Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, we're talking. That's the size of the United States. So that would blow. When I laughed when you said that the reason I laughed was because just the scale of the universe makes me laugh, because that's actually kind of small compared to like some other probably electrical discharges that are happening somewhere out there. And if that hit Earth, like it would be complete reset. That one.
Well, yeah, and think about this. You guys might remember, let's see here. Here we go. Meteor crater, also known as Barringer crater. Out west. You guys ever heard of this?
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
Okay.
Not in person, but yeah.
They call it meteor crater. But what do you notice about its shape?
It's the octagonal, or whatever you called it, whatever the other. It looks like the ones on Mars. The electrical discharge.
It's not exactly circular, is it?
No.
And you don't see a surrounding debris field.
No.
And no meteor was ever found.
Well, that's that should be.
No meteor fragments were ever found. In fact, they have a meteor inside the museum here. But that was not the one that they found at the site. That was found elsewhere. They just put it there as an example. And in their pamphlets and all on their walls, they say, we never found a meteor. No, or meteor fragments. They went looking for it, but they never found one. And so I'm looking at this hexagonal shape, and we have straight sides here, no surrounding debris field. And I'm wondering, was that the product of electrical discharge? This is in Arizona, I think, right? Meteor crater? Okay. Yeah. What else is out there? Just a hop, skip, and a jump away from it.
Yeah.
What is that?
It's the Grand Canyon, right?
Yeah. Now, what does the Grand Canyon look like from space?
It looks like, the last two pictures you showed.
Looks like a giant lightning bolt, doesn't it?
Yeah.
This is what you call a Lichtenberg pattern. Okay. Lichtenberg pattern. Should we try to, let's just look at that real quick.
Let's see what it looks like.
Lichtenberg pattern. I don't know if I'm spelling it right. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You get the idea here. Right? That's electrical discharge. All right. And actually they do artwork now. This is acrylic, and you can stick a little electrode in here and zap it with some electricity, and then it freezes in the acrylic, and you can sell it as art.
Sweet.
It's really cool. So, but this is electricity. This is a fingerprint of electricity stored in acrylic. And when we see the Grand Canyon from space, and geologists have a tough time explaining this formation just due to water erosion alone. To have done this with water would require water to travel in ways that's unnatural, uphill, and this way and that way. So water erosion does not explain this formation. When you look at it, it looks like an electrical scar. Okay, have you ever seen anybody struck by lightning?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. I'm not sure if I have those in here. But the people who are struck by lightning have this same
scar.
Yeah.
Wild. And Schock talks about this exact phenomenon in this book, Forgotten Civilizations.
Yes.
New discoveries on the solar-induced dark age, when he's making an argument that the Younger Dryas climate event was not an impact catastrophe, but a massive CME. Because here's the thing: is I've seen people suggest that like a plasma discharge from a CME could not create like high temperature atmospheres on the surface of the planet. But then I've seen other people say that it most certainly could in an extraordinary event. And I think both what would cause a Younger Dryas catastrophe and or like a Grand Canyon or this would be what we see on Mars, would be plenty to cause a high heat environment as well. So,
yeah, and I guess, what would cause a high heat event? I mean, as we know, electricity is high heat. Obviously, it's hotter than the sun.
Mm-hmm.
But would that really fry the atmosphere? I don't know. But what is electricity? What is lightning? Lightning doesn't. And I'm no expert here, but I'm asking you guys. Doesn't lightning sort of separate the atmosphere, and the clap that we hear, that is the thunder, is the atmosphere coming back together?
Mike's watching, and he might know that, but I honestly don't know. And that's the thing. That's what that's why we need scientists. Sometimes they're way too conservative for our what we like. But Mike, is that what it is? I just know that I just remember learning that the thunder comes after. Lightning is a bright, visible flash of static electricity from thunderstorm caused by. This is Brittany putting that in there.
Yeah.
Caused by charge separation in clouds. Thunder is the sound generated by the rapid expansion of air heated by the lightning bolt, creating a shock wave. Since light travels through sound, we see the lightning flash first, and then hear the subsequent sound of thunder. So that is what you said, right?
Essentially, yes. Now, if lightning came down and excavated something the size of the Grand Canyon in an instant, where's all that stuff going? All over the place.
All over the place, yeah.
Straight up in the air. And when it comes back down, there you have impacts, physical impactors. Imagine all that material being excavated.
Well, it would explain like the weird, when you watch, what's his name? Randall Carlson, just basically go across the Midwest and different places in the United States and just pull up, point out random boulders and random rocks. You're like, what the hell is this even doing here?
Right.
And it's just not explained by slow erosion,
Right. Exactly. So we have these catastrophic effects, and I don't think we really got into this last time, so I want to highlight this. There's obviously other explanations for how Mars lost its atmosphere. Maybe if you're interested in that, you guys can go watch the film. But this is one of the explanations that I really didn't take too much time in getting into last time we spoke. And I really, again, to do a deeper dive on this, go to the YouTube channel known as Thunderbolts Project. They have done years and years of work on this, and when you watch their documentaries on this, you can't help but be like, oh my God, how come I've never known about this before? We include a portion of the Thunderbolts documentary, one of them, in my film, Blue Planet Red. And so there are these crossovers with Mars and with the Cosmic Summit, because we do see these we do see signs of megalithic architecture on Mars. We do see signs of plasma electro discharge on both Mars and Earth. So we do see these ancient things. And I guess if I could just show one more thing, Dave, here.
Yeah, go for it. I just brought this up quickly because this is what it made me think of. It's essentially the biggest thing in the universe is 10 billion light years across. It's a map of a colossal supercluster of galaxies known as Laniakea, the home of Earth's Milky Way galaxy and many other galaxies. That red dot right there, that's the Milky Way galaxy. But it kind of looked like that pattern to me. A little bit, no?
Yeah, sure.
Some familiarity,
right?
Go ahead.
Well, so here's something that I think might be more relevant. Teotihuacan from space. I showed this last time, but I keep coming back. This is one of John Ward's finds, and I'm always going to promote this one. Goodness, should I do maps? Teotihuacan, what was it? Temple of the Moon.
Yeah.
See if we can get a Teotihuacan Temple of the. Where might it be? Here it is.
You could try searching aerial
Here
view.
it is. Oh. How do I get rid of these markers? You guys know?
I don't.
Okay. Well, you guys see this here,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. What do we see here? We see
step pyramid.
What did you call it? A step pyramid? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's square.
Mm-hmm.
More or less equal sides, right? And then it's got this funky thing on the front.
Mm-hmm.
What do you call this?
I don't know what they call it, but yeah, it's just a platform, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like a little.
It's very specific, though.
Right. It's in the front. Okay. Now, imagine. I know you guys saw this before, but for those of you who haven't seen, just imagine, what would this look like with a few hundred years or maybe 1,000 years of sediment deposited over top of it? All right, because we have these unexcavated pyramids all over the earth right now, and what it looks like is a big hill, right?
Sure.
From the ground, you don't know it's a pyramid underneath because it's got dirt and trees on top of it.
Right.
All right. Now, from this perspective, if this was covered with dirt, what would that look like? Would you still see some sort of shape that indicated it was squarish? What do you think? Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, we see it here on Earth, so yeah, you would still see something.
So what we have here on Mars is what I would consider to be evidence.
Not proof, but evidence.
Evidence, photographic evidence of an unexcavated Teotihuacan-like pyramid on Mars. And I want to give John Ward credit. He found this. This is one of his many magnificent discoveries. Okay. If Teotihuacan was buried in some dirt, would it not look exactly like this or something like it? So I'm not going to say this is conclusively a pyramid. All I'm saying is that we got to go take a closer look at this kind of stuff, because if there's pyramids on Mars, Brittany, Dave, like that changes the whole narrative of this whole planet, of this whole solar system.
Everything. Yeah. Everything.
You know, like, I get so unsettled just thinking about it.
I get excited thinking about it. Well, yeah, I get excited personally, but then I think about the like social structural ramifications of something like that. And then that kind of makes me think like that. What did you say? The slow walk is necessary for a lot of people.
Yeah.
A lot of people need to get slow walked on this.
Yeah.
Like
Jeff,
Yeah, this isn't, and like you said, not proof, but evidence that there may be megalithic architecture on Mars, and this isn't the only one. There's thousands, and it doesn't just suggest that; it suggests a possible connection between as well, because it's the same shape, and which is even more out there to think about, but it does suggest that.
Do you guys remember how big this is?
No, I was going to ask you, but it's much, much bigger, right?
It is. It's 2.5 miles.
Jeez Louise. But that thing obviously has 4 sides and possibly like concaved 8 sides. You know?
Right. I mean, it's obviously not pristine. It looks like but we can tell it's not a circle. Like if you look at a volcano from above, it's a circle, more or less.
Mhm.
It is circular.
Mm-hmm.
This has distinct sides. So why don't we allow our common sense to observe something like this and, click to no more? We just say, oh, so when NASA takes these photos, we're talking about disclosure, Dave. When NASA takes a photo like this and they don't come out with a press release or a press conference saying, hey, we photographed what looks like a big friggin' pyramid on Mars, you have to wonder why not. And I guess, to speak on behalf of what their response might be, well, they don't want to freak people out.
Yeah, and Jim said just now, I'm 64 years old. I need the fast walk, thanks. And I mean, I feel the same way at 43. My Uncle Bob, shout out to Uncle Bob out there in the universe somewhere, but his last words were literally like, I wish, something along the lines of like, I wish I knew if aliens were real or something like that. And so, if what's fucked about that though, it is like there are people who aren't going to get to find out information that some humans already know that means everything to what and who we are, the story of what, and who we are, which is why I love the idea to bring this full circle of a coalition of well presented, well spoken researchers on historical evidence of possible life and possible civilization on Mars is such a good idea. Any ideas for like what you might want to call this group of this ragtag group of people who are trying to get this out there?
Well, I just been referring to it loosely as the Mars community, but I do want to start implementing this word disclosure into the messaging a little bit more. It doesn't necessarily need a special name, but I do want the public to understand that there is more or less people collaborating and working together, and it's not so fragmented, because it's easy to dismiss the one guy in South Africa that you've never heard of and who has a funny accent. But if he is now working with other people, and that's what I'm hoping to achieve, I'm selling the community on this idea as we speak. Like, hey, and John Ward's on board. I got my buddy George Haas is on board, and there's other people that I want to try to add to this mix. Unfortunately, a lot of the time, the scientists themselves are lone wolves, and they don't really get the concept of working together. They just want to work on the research and publish a paper, and they're up for interviews, but they're not. They don't truly understand the value of what social media has to offer and the collaborative nature of simply discussing each other's work, interviewing each other, just becoming a little bit more visible and working collaboratively in that way. So, it's an uphill climb at this point, but I think it's apparent that, me just by myself here with my movie is not going to do that. It might move the needle a little bit, but it does really require a conversation, with folks like you bringing in the other people of the Mars community, and if they can't speak themselves, speaking on their behalf. But I don't know, man. Sorry for the long-winded answer. I just
No, you're
doing
good.
my best
You're good. It's not a long-winded answer, and the thing is what we're working against is what I see to be a carefully crafted narrative of simplicity surrounding Mars, and it's a much more complex history than we're giving credit for. And this takes place in geology on Earth. It's like the there's the duality between the catastrophists and then whatever the word is for the uniformitarianism, right? It's either really slow, or people either believe everything happens really slow or happens through catastrophe, and it's a little of both. There shouldn't be two camps on that, and Mars is no different. And so, like, community, coalition, whatever you want to call it, I like the idea of having, when news comes out about Mars, studies come out about Mars, somebody like Jean finds a picture, a new picture, somebody's out there talking about it and giving it some spotlight, because like you said, that what we got from a study from last year was a news report this week about maybe we did, maybe we didn't find life on Mars, which is interesting, but there's so much more interesting stuff that doesn't get talked about, right? So
yeah, Dave, if you the overall point to drive home here is that Mars used to be a blue planet like Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, with oceans, lakes, and rivers, and with a thick atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
And it was that way for a long time. Why should we be so surprised that it gave rise to life? And furthering, why should we be surprised that it gave rise to intelligent life? So there's a bit of a when we see these things that look like pyramids, I think there's some crossover. You said maybe there's a connection between the pyramids here and the pyramids there, because we still have questions about how the pyramids here are formed.
Lots.
Right? Okay, so why is it so strange that on our next door neighbor we see some of these similar things? And so there's some crossover there between the megalithic crowd of the Cosmic Summit and Mars. With regard to the UFO community, Jean Ward has also done some magnificent work in this regard, that he has, through his examination of rover photographs, found on a number of occasions, 6 to 8 at least, maybe even more, 10 occasions where the rovers have photographed UFOs on Mars. And I think we talked about this last time. It's not dust on the lens. It's not a dead pixel. It's not a solar flare. It's not these things, because they have shape to them. And at least one or two of them have a very distinct shape that kind of looks like the gimbal UFO video that everyone is familiar with here. It's kind of a disc, but with like a bulbous thing in it. And he's still finding these things, even after just a few weeks ago. So what's going on there?
Yeah, it's true. And so I wanted to wrap things up by showing your documentary, which recently dropped on Prime. How long ago? 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, late August. It came out on Amazon. It's on the cable streaming networks, Xfinity, Verizon, Charter, Cox, Spectrum, those sorts of things. So it is available now mostly to North American audiences, but it will be coming to more foreign territories in November. So if you can't get access to it now, check back in November, and there should be a streaming platform to be determined that will let you see it.
Cool. I'm going to show the trailer here real quick, and then we're going to do a little Mike and Dave's Multiverse promo. We're going to be doing a little hat giveaway for anybody who orders the movie. Not anyone, but because it might end up being a lot of hats. But did want to ask you because it's on my mind. I've been following this very closely. You follow in this 3-eye atlas thing, and that's supposed to make a pretty close approach to Mars. And it also apparently changed color and started burning off nickel. It's changed from red to green this week. I still think it's a comet, but I don't, or just something we just don't understand. But I mean, are you following that at all?
Loosely, I can tell you that one of the main scientists in the Mars community, his name is Dr. John Brandenburg, who is his work is heavily influenced, my documentary. He's been following this quite a bit, and he's a big fan of Avi Loeb. It certainly has some oddities, some anomalous findings. I'm not really sure of what to make of it because it's, I don't understand the significance of this data in the same way. Yeah. But that it's odd, and that Avi is taking notice of this, and he's publishing a blog post every day about this stuff. So I do see it. So that it's coming so close to Mars gives us an opportunity to image it. So I think I'm really curious as to what we can tell from imaging it, if we're able to see what it looks like. Speculation can run wild. I think it's interesting that Avi's got this really unique way of addressing this disclosure topic, which is let's look for interstellar objects coming our way. And here we have something, coming to our neighborhood that doesn't present in the same way that we would expect just a average old rock from outer space to. So yeah, what's up with that? I can't wait to know more.
Yeah, me too, man. I think it's like one of these things that's going to be like rife for like speculation and like Kool-Aid cults and things like that. I'm paying very close attention because it's doing a couple weird things, like you mentioned. It changed colors. It's burning nickel, which is strange. I think a lot of the strange anomalies related to it are simply because our sample size of these types of objects are super small. This is the third one, interstellar quote unquote object we've seen detected. They may come here all the time and we just don't see them. But it'll be interesting when it gets close to Mars. There's going to be backyard telescopes pointed at it. There's going to be all the biggest telescope arrays in the world pointed at it. The Hubble and the JST. Anyway, the James Webb's going to be pointed at it. And it's going to make a perihelion, which is when it's closest to the sun in, I think October. And then we're going to be able to basically look at it with your backyard telescope. So there's going to be a lot of wild speculation about this thing. So
Dave, do you know, is it going to shoot off and we'll never ever see it again, or is it going to go in orbit? Do we know?
So because we do know, because of a bunch of different things, its speed, its size, its trajectory, it's basically apparent mass and how fast it's traveling. There's a word I'm looking for. Anyway, it's not going to be caught by the sun's orbit. It's going to be, it's going to basically swing around it and then slingshot out of the solar system. And that's what I mean by the only third one that we found. Oumuamua was like that. There was another Borisov one that did that, and then this one. Everything else that's like that gets caught up in the orbit of the sun stays there. And there's a mathematical equation. I don't want to get into all that because I don't know it off the top of my head, but there's a whole equation on how they figured that out. That's why Oumuamua was so important. Borisov was important because they were able to see this one very early and then figure out very early that it was not going to it was not going to hang out. It was going to pass by the sun and keep going. So that's why everyone's talking about it. I just found out it turned from red to green, which is weird, but there's so many things to like speculate because, for example, like whatever this thing's made of, the closer it gets to the sun, the faster it starts going because it's being pulled in by the orbit. And then whatever it's made of, the closer it gets to the sun, the more heat it's going to be exposed to, which means whatever it's being made of is going to get burnt off. And we may just be seeing like large quantities of nickel being coming off this thing for random, solar system and universal formation reasons, or it may be like a daggone like propulsion system using nickel that we've never heard of. I don't know. I'm more like 95% sure it's just something natural that we just don't know how to, think about lately or think about correctly. But
Yeah.
I do believe that it's going to be a fun next 3 months finding out like what this thing is.
True. Yeah, I can't wait to see more.
Yeah, me too. So I decided on the spot we're going to do a little giveaway. I'm going to pull up a link to our merch store. We're going to give away a Mike and Dave's Multiverse hat to, we'll say, the first 2 people watching that send us either a screenshot or take a picture of their TV or whatever of them purchasing Blue Planet Red on on Amazon Prime. It's $6.99. It's about an hour 57-minute watch through. It's very good, and we'll. You have to email us at mikedavesmultiverse@gmail.com a picture of basically your screen saying you purchased it, and we'll send out 2 hats. The first 2 people to do that with their address and their name, we'll send out 2 hats. And because we want to get the information out there, we want to get the documentary seen, we want to get people aware of this community and grow your community, so let's do it.
Cool, man.
Let me hit the trailer. There it is. There we go. And hit it. Blue Planet Red, Brian, Cory, Dobbs. Let's go.
What do you know about Mars?
I don't really think too much about it, really.
Do you know anything about it?
No, it's red.
Red?
That it's red.
Red. Red.
Did Mars have water on it?
Enormous amounts of water.
Where there could have been an ocean, for instance, that may have covered the entire northern hemisphere.
There's life on Mars now?
Yes.
In my opinion, the chances of finding life on Mars is 100%.
Why didn't they just send another life test experiment?
Because they don't want to know.
Is it possible that there was a civilization on Mars thousands of years ago?
Not natural formations, pyramid structures.
And so there could have been a lot of history before us that we are not aware of.
Then in principle, there could be relics of that technology on Mars.
Find an elevated level of xenon-129
Yes.
in a planet's atmosphere can only mean one thing.
It's not good news.
Either we're alone or there are others around us, and either is terrifying.
Signs of major catastrophe are everywhere in evidence.
If they disclose this, the cat's out of the bag. We are not alone in our universe.
That's got to be it, Brian. It's goes. Oops, am I sharing something else?
No.
That's got to be it, man. It's got to be the same idea as the UAP disclosure slow drip. It's like the whole catastrophic disclosure concept where it would, I don't know, people would lose their shit, but I don't know. I just want, I'm like my uncle Bob, right? Or Habitat for Rockhounds Jim Fry. Some of us are running at a time,
Yeah, I agree. I had the same question as your Uncle Bob too. That's the only thing I want to answer before I die.
Yeah, man. So where can everybody find you? And where can everyone find you?
So for those of you interested in watching the film and seeing all of the research that went into the making of the film, please visit blueplanetred.net. You can find me on Twitter X at Brian Cory Dobbs, on Instagram. I think it's the same thing at Brian Cory Dobbs, and YouTube. So watch YouTube second. The YouTube is the continuation of the documentary. It's more or less the follow up to the documentary. So if you want to get into it, please watch the documentary first, and then you can see more of the work that I continue to do on YouTube channel at Brian Cory Dobbs.
Very cool. And I'm going to show the hat one more time. Make sure to tell us what color you want, the gray or the white. You know, we'll go ahead and send it out. I'm going to throw on a little closeout music. I should usually do that when I yeah, book of the month. Book of the month is right here. Deja Vu. Has everything already been? By Alexander Cheshkovich. Send us a screenshot or a picture of your TV saying you purchased Blue Planet Red. First 2 people to do that, send us that picture to mikedavesmultiverse at gmail.com. It's going to get a Mike and Dave's Multiverse hat. We've got an episode dropping today with Abby Lutz. She's a death doula and the founder of the Death Dojo. How to show up for death, you know, the best you can be. I think that's a good skill to learn. It's kind of mindfulness taken in a whole extreme direction, how to be mindful at the moment of your death. That episode drops today. We've got an episode dropping with archaeologist and sociologist Elizabeth Weiss on Monday, and lots of other good stuff in store. Coming up soon, Brian, have you heard of this new documentary or new let's see, replace screen sharing. This new conference, Quest for Ancient Civilizations, by Wandering Wolves Productions. Have you heard of this?
I think I have.
Yeah, it's going to be December 5th to the 7th. Get your tickets now at worldviewsmedia.com. Going to have AJ Gentile from Y-Files there. Gary from Nerdrotic. We've got Jimmy Corsetti. We're going to be interviewing some people, much like we did for Cosmic Monday. So stay tuned. We got an interview coming up with Dan the D-Dunker. We got an interview coming up possibly with William Henry from Ancient Aliens, one of my favorite shows. So, yeah, look, lots of stuff to look forward to. Brian, thank you so much for joining the Multiverse again.
Hey, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And thanks to Jim Fry and everyone else who was in the chat. Mike, have a great day at work, school, whatever. Aaron, what's up? How's it going? Everyone else who was in the chat, love ya. Talk to you soon. Bye.